having obtained the approval so we can move forward to build this arena. You know, the ball is now in our court. We've been going through the political process over the last 2.5 years, and so now that we have the ball, we're going to do what private enterprise does. We're going to expedite this process and move forward. We are excited about the great economic impact that this is going to have on the region, not just the city of Virginia Beach. The 1,600 to 2,400 jobs during construction and substantial number of jobs after the project opens. The significant amount of tax revenues that will be generated in the city of Virginia Beach, as well as the region, I think have been underestimated substantially by the parties that have been involved other than us. But we feel very confident that this is going to be a win-win for the city, not only for the tax revenues this project is going to generate with the additional hotel rooms, estimated to be over 65,000 additional room nights that will be rented at the oceanfront, but the spurring of other economic development that would happen at the oceanfront. One of the things that we've talked about since day one is the quality of life that this arena will actually bring to the Hampton Roads area. The memories of a lifetime that can be created at this venue. One of the things that we are envisioning is that once we open, and it may be a year or two after we open, but just think of a weekend that on a Friday night you get the opportunity to go to a Taylor Swift concert. On Saturday night you actually get to attend an NHL hockey game. And on Sunday there may be a religious presentation like Joel Osteen. That's one weekend. We plan to do this year-round and really give an opportunity for our region to stay here locally, spend their money here locally, and not have to go to D.C., not have to go to Raleigh, North Carolina. We have been working on this loan and with the existing lender, China Exim Bank, for several years now. Interestingly, last night when we were sitting in the council chambers, we had told them that we thought that the process was going to kind of go quickly last night. It actually took a little bit longer than we thought. And we received, actually, communication from them by way of text saying, have you gotten the vote? What's happening? Because they were waking up early in the morning. The actual individual that we have been working with has been on top of this from day one from the bank. He is actually getting ready to get married and leaving on a 2-week honeymoon, but it coincides great with the first of the year for us to be moving forward, and so we are really excited about being able to meet and really exceed the deadlines that the city has imposed on us for purposes of the commitment, the loan closing, the construction start. I will certainly let some of my other team members talk about that, but it is our goal to be open by the end of 2018 with a grand start of construction sometime during 2016. We will continue, and that wasn't good, we will continue to listen to the citizens. We have encouraged citizen communications and involvement from day one, whether it was whether they were having issues, whether or not they were supportive of the project. The business community has been very supportive, and we are going to continue that engagement throughout this process. We plan to be a good neighbor to all. We're from here. I was born here. You know, I go to the restaurants every night. I'm going out to events, and people see me, and a lot of people have my home cell. They have my home, my cell number, and I'm going to get called if things are not going according to the schedule or hopefully ahead of schedule. So we plan to bring it, and we look forward to that grand opening. I do want to specifically talk about the principal of our company. He has been such an inspiration to all of us. He has told me, I've worked for him for over 30 years, if it was easy, it would have already been done. We've time and time again done things that people said, this is not the right time, it can't be done. So we're here to prove again that we can do this once again. The team in my office, my immediate team that has been just, without this, we could not have got it done. I want to introduce to you Valerie Wilkinson, the CFO, who has mulled over these numbers a million times with me and our other staff. Brittany Williams, which I'm not sure where Brittany is. She's over there. She has been working on the PR and the communications with the public, which has been extensive. And last but not least, I want to introduce Joe Gilardi, who is the project manager, who has really been focusing on now what happens now that we have our approvals. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Joe to introduce the rest of our team.
All right, thank you, Andrea. Well, it's almost redundant to say, but we could not be more excited to have this day finally here. And if you want a great venue, you have to build a great team to put it together. And we've talked about from the very beginning that the focus on this project has to be people. It's a focus on the people, the community that we're going to help to create more jobs, opportunity down at the ocean front, great entertainment opportunities for place for people to come bring families. And it can only work if we bring quality people in who know how to make that connection, know how to make every aspect of the project work and serve all those individuals. So this team that we put together, it's really an all-star team. One of the things that was fascinating to me, even though we pulled together this very diverse international team, is that when we all got together the first time and put everybody in a room, we didn't have to introduce anybody to each other because everybody had worked enough on different projects all over the country and really all over the globe that we immediately became this very cohesive, very tight team. We knew that we wanted team partners here that could have a very broad global perspective about how to make venues that are as multifunction and multi-purpose as possible so that you can bring in the most diverse range of acts, entertainment, sporting events, put it all under one roof. So you needed that international perspective, but we also knew the success about this is the local roots. You know, as Andrea said, we're all locals. I'm a local, born and raised here. You know, went to Princeton High School, which is just kind of right across the street from us. So we knew we needed some local partners too. So each one of the parts of the team, we've teamed up an international with a local partner so we get the best of everything. So it all starts with the design team, and our architects and engineers really are some of the finest that you can find anywhere. Our international partners, AECOM, they are, I think without a doubt, the premier design and engineer firm for large entertainment and sports venues. And I'd like to bring up Frank Anderson with AECOM, and I'm going to turn it over to him in just a moment. We've also teamed them with, really, we call them our local partners, but Clark Nixon really is a national powerhouse in their own right in architectural engineering world. And they have very deep roots in the community, and they'll tell you a little bit more about that right now.
Thank you, Joe.
Why don't you both come on up, Chris?
As Joe said, AECOM is a nationally and internationally designed engineering firm, and we are so excited for the Hampton Roads region as to what this project can do. We have seen it many times. We've seen it recently with our most recent arena project, Barclays. We've seen it with the FedEx Forum we did down in Memphis with the revitalization expansion it created for Beale Street. And the long term of it has been similar to the Sprint Center in Kansas City, which is home of the sports practice group of AECOM. The Sprint Center has been 8 years open now, and it has revitalized that whole area. There's been a whole entertainment district and stuff like that. So we know what these design projects can do when you incorporate teams of talented local staff and developers. So we're so excited for this. And Chris, if you want to.
Well, I would like to welcome you to Clark Nixon. This is our corporate headquarters here in Virginia Beach, and we're really excited to be teamed up with AECOM on this project. We've done a lot of projects together. We know them very well, and we work very well together, almost really kind of seamlessly. We've done a lot of really large public projects for the city, to include the convention center. We did a large study on the 19th Street corridor, which really is, I think, very integral to the project because, like Andrea said, we want to be great neighbors and great stewards. And so this is not just an arena, but it's a redevelopment of the 19th Street corridor, which will spill over into the 17th Street corridor and really be a boost for the resort area. So we're excited to be involved in the project. We are the locals, but we certainly do reach out to our counterparts, not only on the design side, but also on the construction side as well, because we're going to be working hand in hand to bring this, which is a great amenity, we think, to the citizens of Virginia Beach.
Thank you very much. The other thing I would add with AECOM and their international reach is that they also have offices in Shanghai, so that's very helpful to us as we continue to coordinate with our Chinese teammates. So we have a great design. Now we have to have some fabulous builders, and so we've brought in Mortensen Construction. They're headquartered out of Minneapolis, Minnesota. They also have offices around the country and around the globe, and also in Shanghai as well. Brent Leiter is here. He'll be the senior project manager for Mortensen Construction, and they're going to be teamed up with SB Ballard Construction, and I think that Steve, in his reputation as a premier local builder, speaks for itself. But if you all would like to say a few words.
I get to go first because I wouldn't get to talk otherwise.
Pretty much.
Look, I'll be brief, but two things I'd like to say. Number one is, Joe gave us a great introduction as being, the big sports builder, and we've done these things many times. But what we get out of having done these many times is for this project to be successful, it's local. It's an economic development tool, so to speak, and they're not successful if the local folks aren't involved, whether it's the tradesmen, the subcontractors. Every one of these jobs, that's a component. So don't get the wrong perception about us coming here and how we're going to handle this project, number one. Number two, kind of echoing what Frank said, these projects, what I get fulfilled about is I can't wait to be here 10 years from now and see what this place looks like, because I got some gray hair. There's places I go that I was 10 years ago and 20 years ago, and when you see that, that's the really cool thing about this. So I'm excited to be here and learn this community and have a big impact in what's to come. Steve?
Yeah, and working with Mortensen and USM, we have toured a lot of great facilities over the last year and seen some tremendous places. And just to reiterate that, you go out to Pinnacle Arena and see the progress of that. And I think you can go online and see that and watch some of their videos. I mean, gosh, I think $700 million worth of new development within 2 years, and they thought it was going to be 5. So I think you'll see this is going to be a huge growing tool for the entire, not only for Virginia Beach, for the region. But one of the things that we'll make sure we bring in is a lot of the local subcontractors and a lot of the local erectors and stuff. Even though, there's been some mention about the steel and this and that, even if we do go with the Chinese steel or Chinese glass, it'll be all local tradesmen that put all that in. They're not going to bring guys over and do all that. So it'll still be a tremendous local draw. And we know we have some some minority goals to meet, small business goals, and SB Ballard and Mortensen, we're excellent at that. We know that's part of making any community grow, and also having a successful business, and that's how we all got started. So we're looking forward to it, and like Andrea said, time's come now. We got to get them up and get them going. And I know I'm waiting for that call from Andrea saying what date we opening. So I'm sure that's coming soon.
Thank you, Steve. Well, you can design and build a fantastic building, but unless you can really bring it to life and operate it, it doesn't do any good. We said it's about the people, and it's our operations team who are going to really put the focus on creating a fantastic event experience for anybody who gets to come down to the oceanfront and enjoy some type of sporting or entertainment event at the arena. It's critical to note, though, that the operators don't just show up when we have a grand opening. They've already been involved from day one. They bring a critical perspective on what it takes to make a venue like this successful, on all the parts and pieces and components and functions that have to work seamlessly in the building. So they have sat alongside us already for the last couple of years in a whole range of design meetings and worked very closely as an integrated team with the architects and engineers and contractors so that we make sure that all the components that we select to go into the building work very well together. And when it comes time for execution and a big event, then it's all transparent to the guest and they enjoy a fantastic experience. So our operations team is going to be led by SMG. They are one of the premier largest operations of venue operations companies in the world. They're headquartered out of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, or just outside of Philadelphia. They operate over 235 venues worldwide. They are the single largest operator of convention centers, which means they also know how to take a venue like the arena and make it work very, very well with its immediate next-door neighbor, the Virginia Beach Convention Center. And with that expertise, they will be able to create new opportunity for Convention Center that will help it to continue to grow and have a bigger impact on the oceanfront. And so I would like at this time to ask Bob Cavalieri from SMG to come up and tell us a little bit about how they're going to really bring this place to life.
Thank you, Joe. Well, it was really interesting. 2 years ago, I'm sitting at my desk outside of Philadelphia, and the phone rings, and Joe's on the phone. Hey, I want to talk to you about a little project we got going in Virginia Beach, Virginia. And I went, okay, what is it? And he says, we want to build a building that could ultimately house an NHL or an NBA team. Oh yeah? Okay, let's talk about it. Absolutely, because frankly, that's what my company does. We operate them worldwide. And we knew as a company that this was a huge untapped market with huge potential in terms of what it could be and what it could do if it had a facility like we're talking about building here to house the types of events that can come. We do this all over the country in just about every size market, from the little ones to the big ones. We're working with Mortensen right now on the development of the new football stadium in Minneapolis for the Vikings. It gets that big at times, and it gets small, the little 20,000 square foot facilities. My company is in the convention center business, as Joe said. We're in the event business on the arena, stadium, theater side. So we know all aspects of it, and it's really two-sided. I mean, we see enormous potential, and that this is a great market for all of the events that can go through the building. Not just the logical ones that you talk about, like an NBA or an NHL team and all the concerts that tour, but you've got family shows like Disney on Ice and Ringling Brothers Circus and Cirque du Soleil. You've got truck and tractor pulls and dirt events like rodeo. You've got wrestling. You've got religious events like Andrea talked about, meetings and conferences and things like that. And so our job is not only to drive as many events into the marketplace as we can and market and promote those events and get people down to the region and to the building to do it, but also to view each community that we work in as a destination. I mean, and we were talking about it at dinner last night, how, for example, the city of Nashville has transformed itself from a city that had really nice country music to a destination. Now people go to Nashville to vacation, and they fill hotel rooms, and they fill the restaurants and the music venues and things like that. We want this building to be a stimulus for all of that in Virginia Beach, and you absolutely have the potential. The infrastructure is here, the community support is here, the business support is here. A 10-to-1 vote means that the political support is here and the will is here. We just need to get it done. And we're happy to be, SMG is proud and happy to be a part of this and enthusiastic about it, and I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you.
I'm sure we've answered all your questions, and no one has any, but I will be glad to take questions if anyone has anything they would like to ask.
And Mike Matthews with News Channel 3.
Yes,
when
sir.
this project was first started flooding, was pitched as something to really beef up the off-season, the slow season. You kept talking about year-round, your year-round plans. How often do you see this operating, and has that changed from the initial concept of a shoulder to a winter season proposal?
Well, obviously the building will be open year-round. However, the majority of for instance, the major concerts usually tour in the summer to the amphitheater. We've actually had conversations, SMG has had conversations with Live Nation. They actually look at this as very complimentary because they have concerts in the summer. Artists either go on summer tours where they have their production and their trucks and whatnot that are geared to an outdoor production, or they do a winter, what they call a winter tour, which is that September through May. And that's the actual and I can let SMG talk to that, but that's really what we're looking at capturing, that the significant number of our events will happen in the wintertime. I know that we were looking actually today at some of the other venues which would be somewhat comparable to what we're talking about building, and all the different concerts that will be happening in those venues that could be here now if we had a venue, but we don't have a venue in this region to be able to handle the size or the production of those events.
If I can follow up with that.
Sure.
The amphitheater opened with Elton John. Who would your top pick to be the open house?
Wow.
2 years, 3 years from now?
2 to 3 years from now, you know, who's going to...
Keith Urban, because we know.
Yeah, I want Keith Urban personally, but you know, Beyonce. Steve wants Beyonce. You know, it's interesting that you say that, and we've had so much internal discussion about, you know, who would we really like to see. Again, we are, you know, we're local developers. And I would love the opportunity at our grand opening to really showcase those Virginia artists that have made it so big, whether it be Missy Elliott, Pharrell. I mean, that to me would just state so much for what we have accomplished here. But again, I guess we'll see who's the hot artist, but hopefully it'll be one of the hottest artists in town 3 years from now. Other questions?
Do you have a rough start date as to when the groundbreaking will be?
It will be I'm going to say it's going to be in 2016. I mean, we've got a lot to get accomplished in, you know, this next year. Last night I made some comment about this year, and they said in December. I'm like, no, I'm not going to get it done this year in 2015, but certainly we will be getting it. We plan to have a groundbreaking in 2016.
Can you be more specific about when? That's when we look at the comments on social media on this, that is one of the biggest things. People want specifics. They'd like to see a timeline, particularly what's the big next thing?
Well, one of the things that I'd like to, you know, it's taken us 2.5 years to get to where we are today. And a big part of that was the political process that we went through, the engagement of the public. And so that, to be very candid, took longer than we had anticipated, but we were not the driving force. Now that we have the opportunity to basically be in the driver's seat to get this moving, for all the things that have to be accomplished for the groundbreaking, everything from, you know, the loan closing to the final design and engineering, we have to actually submit them to the City of Virginia Beach. They have to go through the typical required approval processes of the plans before we can start construction. So to get open, to actually have a groundbreaking in 2016 is a pretty aggressive schedule if you even think of even building your home and you say, okay, today I'm going to build a home. To get all that done and to have a groundbreaking, that's a very aggressive schedule. So I'm not going to give you any more specifics on that unless Steve thinks he wants to give anything more specific. But I think that's a pretty surmountable task for us to get all that done in the next 12 months.
Could you talk more about what those things are that you need to get done? I know you mentioned the loan and final design, but what else is there?
That's pretty substantial, one. So we obviously have to finalize the loan documents. Keep in mind, we are using an international lender, so you're dealing with you know, multiple languages, and the city also has approval rights over some of those loan document issues. And so when you have a lot of players in the room, everything from the bank to the bank's attorney to the city and the city's attorney and us and our attorneys, and you know, have to get through that loan process. So it's a process, just like what this political process has been. And then the design. I mean, we have been collaborating all along, but the detailed designs have to be completed. And then the city, at that point, they have to actually go through and approve those plans. That, again, can take you know, 30 days, 60 days. I mean, Steve, again, can probably talk to that process with the city. So for us to have a groundbreaking by the end of 2016, again, is a very aggressive schedule. But we plan to meet that.
So are you thinking it will be towards the end of 2016?
Yes, I do think it would be towards the end of 2016 when we have a groundbreaking.
Okay. You also talked about the loan closing. Do you have any more of a timeline on that? When will that money come through?
Well, and that's been one of the things that I think there's been a misinterpretation of what we have been through already. So it's not unlike when someone decides that they want to go out and they want to buy a home. And so you go through a pre-approval process. You basically have submitted documentation that says you're pre-approved. But until such time as you actually have a contract signed and executed on that house. You cannot give that final executed contract to the mortgage company to finalize their underwriting, to give you the final approval loan document so you can proceed to closing. So we're in the same situation. We have the term sheet from the bank. We have submitted thousands, literally, of documents to them. The city has had that information for some time. But now that hopefully I will have the signed document, I'm hoping today. I do have a copy of the signed resolution, but not the development agreement. So we're waiting for that, to send it, so they can start their typical due diligence process, so that then they can issue the final commitment, which would not be unlike when you're doing a home mortgage. And then at that point, the documents are drafted, but they do have to be reviewed by a lot more parties, because the city will be reviewing those as well. And then we will get to loan closing. So, you know, to do all of that and to get to the point with a groundbreaking, you know, that we're probably looking at mid-year that we would have all that done. But again, it's an aggressive schedule.
So mid-year, you're thinking for the loan closing?
I certainly am hoping so, yes.
Have the Chinese lenders voiced any concerns with the draft agreement that's been drawn up?
No, they haven't. Actually, we have, along the process, actually engaged them in discussions about certain points, and that really was part of the negotiations that we actually had with the city. There were some things that the city agreed to do that was really lender concerns, but in addition, we also made some concessions and added things to the documents that were city concerns. So that really was a big part of the process that we went through with the city over the last year.
You talked about an NHL team. Have you talked with any current NHL teams about moving here or expansion teams?
We have, well, one, we have not talked with any specific NHL team. We certainly have been exploring that opportunity. We have had discussions with the NHL, you know, themselves about the possibility and about what we are doing. We feel confident that this market is right for an NHL team, but again, the NHL currently has considerations of two potential teams that are on the table right now, that they're going through that process. And so now that we have our approvals, we can certainly pursue that more aggressively.
You said come back to us when you have a deal. What did the NHL say to you?
Actually, I'm bound by confidentiality to not say that, so you can surmise what that may be.
Often major sports teams, when they come into a community, they want concessions revenue, they want the luxury suite revenues that you all are going to capture to, you know, pay the mortgage. How will that work if you're talking with an NHL team and they want naming rights and other fees?
Well, obviously, this facility financially works without a team, and that's been really the crux of why we brought this to the city and said we can make this work, because we can capture all those revenues. To be very candid, if we move forward with any type of national franchise, there is no question that all of that is going to be up for discussion, and how do we replace those revenues? How can we make it work? And obviously, one of the things, and again, SMG has you know, taught us through this process, is that really that's the icing on the cake as far as events, because the type of events that we're bringing have a certain amount of flexibility, and you can input games in between, and so you obviously have ticket sales, and that would all have to be coordinated. We've been so focused on getting it to this point without the need for a national franchise, but we are certainly focused on those types of issues that we know are going to have to be addressed through the process.
Ma'am, when the city surveys its visitors, in general, they like the oceanfront, the amenities. They hate the traffic getting to the oceanfront. That's something you can't control from the peninsula to here. Where does traffic and the concerns about traffic, moving volumes in and out, play into this, knowing you also, on your schematics, have a light rail stop, but that is not really a guarantee to move forward? How does the concerns over just our bottleneck-prone area affect your proposal?
Okay. Well, one of the things is that part of this process has been having Kimley Horn actually do studies for the city of Virginia Beach concerning parking and traffic. The actual traffic that would be coming, they've actually estimated a certain percentage, maybe 70% coming down 264, 15% from the north end, 15% from the south end. Obviously, not too many people can come from the east because they'd be coming by boat. But there are substantial improvements that are being proposed for the 264 exchange at Bird Neck. There will actually be 7 ways to get in and out of the arena. We've also looked at a lot of wayfinding signage that will be developed as part of the infrastructure. One of the other things that we plan to do, we have the plaza, we have some other activities that are going to be planned for pre and post events. So is that not everybody would be coming down at the same time. And as you have additional development that happens around the arena, which we expect it's going to happen, you're actually going to have a substantial amount of, we think, visitors that are going to come hours before, so you're not going to have that traffic bottleneck. It's not going to be like, you know, if you're traveling to the amphitheater and you have that concert that starts at 7 o'clock. There's going to be a lot of other activities down there for people to go to. In addition to the other thing is, you know, we've all become much more sophisticated. You know, give me my you know, they have to take my phone away from me. So you can text. I mean, you can actually gather information about what's happening with the traffic pattern, what parking lots are open and not, and you can gather information when they purchase their tickets, and you can actually text people to say, this is the, you know, this area is blocked, come this way. And so there's a lot better ways to communicate with people so that hopefully traffic is not going to be of major concern. We know that when we open, you know, to a certain extent there's going to be some trial and error based on the information that we know, but we're going to gather information. Our goal, we can't be successful unless everybody wants to come to the arena. So it is incumbent upon us to come up with, you know, solutions, and for it to be ever evolving as time goes on, to make sure that those issues are taken care of so that they want to come back. So.
Do you want the arena served by light rail?
You know, I feel like that's so far down the road that it's not something that I've really considered. The original renderings, I believe, at the time, because there was a lot of ideas about where the locations of light rail. There was a light rail stop put on the rendering, but you know, personally, you know, as a citizen, I just think that's so far down the road. We're not looking that far down right now. We're looking at the immediacy of, we plan to be open in less than 3 years, so I don't see that it's going to be there, and it's not necessary for this arena to be successful.
Some people were concerned about the Chinese materials that would be used. Anything that you could say to alleviate those concerns?
Well, and actually, I was going to say, did one of you guys want to address this? I mean, I will say that the current Freedom Tower World Trade Center actually has Chinese materials in it, and was used substantially in that project. But I'll let you guys address the quality and what the process is for us to be bringing some in.
So AISC, American Institute of Steel, contractors, constructors, whatever, they certify inspectors. They're in China, okay? And there have been years of vetting out what fabricators there meet our standards, know our standards. The inspectors, the very same inspector that might be at a fab shop here in Virginia would be in a fab shop in China. So the quality control measures are the same. And if anything, it'll be higher level of quality control on all those fabrication things, all that sort of thing. The whole Chinese content.
But the other thing is, there's a group called the American Society of Testing Materials, and they certify materials worldwide. And there are worldwide standards that are used. And so when we as designers, we specify a material, it has to comply with those standards, and the material gets tested. So it's not really an issue of where any of this material comes from, because honestly, today in our world, when we put things together and design things, materials come from all over the world. And so they comply with these international standards. And it's not an issue. It's not an issue.
And it's not pioneering. I mean, there's a picture there of the Sprint Center in Kansas City that Frank mentioned and a lot of us worked on. That whole skin, it's all glass pictured up a little bit above.
The bigger one.
Right.
There.
That's all Chinese. That whole curtain wall is all Chinese. So, I mean, and there were countless other examples. We're not like out on some fringe area here to do this thing. Now, the fact that we're being a little more focused on, generally that happens for economics as opposed to, you know, related to the funding issues, but that's what we're going to take advantage of here. And it's all going to be competitive. It's all about keeping the price of the building competitive, because if we spend a lot of money on steel, we don't have it left over for all the nice things that go into the concourses and the public spaces, right?
Another concern was a jet crash from Oceania. You said you talked to the Navy. Can you tell us what they said?
Joe?
Joe.
I'm good.
Joe was
Since he's a,
an F-18 pilot.
I get these because I spent 23 years active duty in the Navy, and I flew F-14s and F-18s out of NAS Oceana. So it's obviously an issue that's very important to me. We worked very closely with the Navy from early in this process. The Navy, the city of Virginia Beach has actually paid more attention to the needs of the Navy than most communities anywhere in the country. And they instituted a process called the Joint Process Review Committee, where every month anything that is going before the Planning Commission in the city of Virginia Beach actually gets routed through the Navy, and their Joint Process Review group gets to look at what the proposed development is, and they have approved uses, and they have different zoning criteria that they look at. And so they had the opportunity to look at this project early on, and they did recognize that the arena was an appropriate use for that site, and it is outside of all the ACU zones that are down there. And a lot has been talked about, some crash potential from past incidents, but the arena is outside of that flight path, the proposed site.
Any other questions you might have? We'll wrap it up.
okay, well, thank you very much for coming. I do want to say that we're excited to bring this to our entire region. We expect that a lot of people will be coming from all the Hampton Road cities, as well as from all over the state, actually, to come to venues here, stay in the hotels here, spend money in the restaurants, and the new Vibe District. And so we're really excited to hopefully be kind of an anchor for what we perceive the redevelopment of that 19th, 17th Street corridor. Thank you very much for coming.
Okay, by the way, I have a list here of names of everybody that spoke, the spellings and everything, so come up and get it from me.
And did you want to mention the 4:30 thing if they want to?
Yes, I'm sorry. There is, I think it was in the press release that was given to you, but we have, Old Dominion University actually selected the arena project as part of their sports and management master's program, and so they are making presentations here at Clark Nexon at 4:30. The actual students are making the presentations, where they divided up among themselves into different groups. I think there might be 7. I stand to be corrected, but of how the arena can be successful, and in conjunction with the adjacent convention center and the fact that we have 8,500 hotel rooms that are down at the oceanfront that have a substantial amount of capacity during the winter months. And so you're more than welcome to stay. We ourselves are looking forward to that presentation. We have spent some time with the students, but they've worked pretty hard on that.